Good morning. My name is Eliza DeVries, and I have a website called angelicmercy.com, out of which I do my mediumship, intuitive, evolutionary astrology readings. I also do my healing work out of this website, so if you would care to contact me for any of these services, please write me at angelicmercy44@gmail.com. Today is August the 4th, 2021. It's been a long while since I've been on here doing a video. I took a hiatus. I have a deep knowing within my own soul, my own body and mind, that there are times during the year when one is flowing outward. There are other times when one is sucking back inward, almost like the ocean, where you see the wave sucking right back and restoring its and gaining its own inner power, and not in the outer world of distraction and expression, but more the inner world of incubation and new understandings and cleansing. I feel as a world globally that we have been in 2021 in a profoundly cleansing time. That we have been, everything has been ramped up. Uranus has been the main instigator throughout this year. Uranus being in Taurus, breaking up old value systems, breaking up literally our earth, scorching our earth, also giving us a sense of breaking free of rigid, crystallized belief systems. It's like we are really being asked right now to let go of entrenched stories, entrenched thoughts that are holding us back from a free and spontaneous expression of ourselves in this moment. Now, I was thinking last night, I watched the most incredible documentary on Tina Turner, and I feel a great correlation between her life and my life up to the time of her reaching stardom, which has never been my goal as the entertainer, but the understanding of starting as a child with the mother leaving home, and out of that choosing a relationship where one is trying so hard to be loved that one forgets about self-worth and self-love, and is able to justify abuse or maltreatment or even physical assault for the sake of staying optimistic and hopeful and focused on the possibility that this person would change, rather than going back to the inner self and a understanding of what is driving our need to stay in something so unhealthy. And she says herself, for probably the first 50 years of her life in a way was centered around putting her faith and her heart and her charity to others out there, but at the same time having no self-worth and submitting herself to a form of abuse. I can strongly relate to that. So I was out there competing on horses, raising children, ostensibly seen as the beautiful wife to the good-looking European husband, and at the same time undergoing incredible inner trauma, and like Tina Turner, not sharing it with one person. For 21 years, I did not share one thing I was going through with a friend. And like her, when you are in such a marriage and you are also supporting the entire family with your energy and your force of being, you don't have the time to be with friends, and you feel too ashamed to share what you're going through. You feel mortified that you, coming from a beautiful, good family and a good education and a so-called dignified, elegant exterior, have allowed yourself to sink to such a level of trying to make things better, thinking that your kindness, your love, your goodness will make things better. So you are, in one way, as was she, staying in a state of a tremendous optimism and hope that things will change, but also in a bit of a la-la land about the reality of what was actually going on to yourself and to your own children. Ultimately, the only thing that can bring us out of such a state is turning to our Holy Spirit, turning to God, turning to our faith. She started chanting. She became a Buddhist. I turned and went on my knees to God and asked God, take this cup from me. I can no longer carry it alone. Not realizing that I was being assisted and helped by the divine source from day one, that I had walked through many valleys and felt always the presence of divine Christ at my side, but somehow had not honored myself enough to choose a situation that was worthy of my efforts and my own soul growth. What happens eventually is, as you step into that period of enlightenment, that period of radiant growth, where you see yourself as you truly are, you stop putting up with the nonsense. You stop putting up with the cruelty or the harshness, and you start to stand for yourself. Your fire comes out, and your new understandings, because the situation in my was very similar to her, that I kept looking at him and feeling sorry for him, that he was in a state of suffering, and that I had made a promise and a vow that I would not leave him. I would stand by his side. She did the same. She kept looking at him and thinking, if only he could get a hit record, if only he could get the attention, then everything would be all right. But that was not true. The basic core essence of the behavior was corrupt and cruel, and she had to walk away. Then what happens when you walk away from such a situation is you are a bit at arm's length from all other relationships for a very long time, until you gain the control and understanding and capacity to love yourself and to see the majesty of your own being and how you survived and how you still stayed positive and you still kept trying and you still kept going forward, as did she. And that was when she stepped into her real soul power and went on to become world famous and an inspiration for women beyond what she could have ever imagined. And what people don't understand is that we don't want to talk about our past. We don't want to stay in that past, but we have to share it eventually and also understand the gift of that we really learned our own self-worth, and we learned through years of self-reflection to actually forgive that person and to realize that the other was our greatest teacher, and that never again would we allow such boundaries to be crossed. But at the same time, I reached a place of great mercy for someone like my mate who had a very tragic death. And since being on the other side has become a great being of light, trying to make it up to his children and to his wife. He really went through a very gray period for about 15 years. Because ultimately, you must face yourself. That's who you face when you cross. You look at your own actions. You look at your own experience of life. The main thing you look at with your actions is not, did I do the wrong thing? Did I do the right thing? What were my intentions behind my actions? If your intentions were to control or to bring somebody else down or to shove everybody else out of the way so that you can gain ascendancy, then you will really come to a Jesus moment and look at that and see the failure of those intentions and the error of those intentions. If you have done things that ultimately hurt people, for example, staying with my husband, him being crippled, and my children having suffered through that marriage, my intention was not to hurt my children. My intention was to keep the family together, to hopefully bring him back on his feet so we could all be together and work together and love each other together. So that intention is not something that I will have to look at as something I intentionally did to hurt my own children or out of a selfish desire just to be in a marriage for the sake of being in a marriage. The second thing that you would look at is, what is my karma with the people that I've left on the earth? What is my, what do I now have to do to make it up to them? And people that have seriously harmed us intentionally, when they cross, they're often become our greatest protectors. But for example, my husband, he's there to make sure I'm safe, to make sure the children are all right. He doesn't come forward in an aggressive way, but he is there in the wings if they need him, if they call out for him. And I can say with my whole heart and soul that each of my children gained a sense of divine mercy and divine forgiveness for him because they chose spiritual paths, and ultimately to let go of resentment, anger, and bitterness to somebody that has, through anger or temper or selfishness, thwarted your advancement in life. Ultimately, that person is facing themselves, and you are moving forward having learned from that situation. Often I would like to say too that people that are going to be offered a lot of spiritual power in this life, for example, as a healer, to have great power as a healer, great power as an intuitive, as a medium, as a singer, as a writer, whatever, you're going to have great power and influence many people and affect their lives at a profound level. Often you are given a test of great humility. You are brought down to your knees so that when you gain that power, you will never abuse that power, because you understand at a core level what the abuse of power is. So basically, where Tina got to in her life was, most of my life I feel shame that I allowed such things, but I do now see the purpose in the suffering of that. But she did go through the tragedy of losing a child through suicide in 2019, and that was the hardest thing that anyone can go through. So there is a death sometimes related to going through that kind of trauma. But what she realized when she finally did meet her beloved is that she loved herself enough to draw in someone that was just absolutely a soul from her soul. And she is still with that person, and they live in the most beautiful home in the country, and he adores her. But she said, I did mostly have, for many, many years of my life, a life of abandonment and abuse. And that made her compassionate. That is why she's so loved, because when she stands up in that stage, there's a confidence to her, but there's also a divine compassion emanating from her when she looks to others. There's something that we understand, and when we actually reach that place of divine mercy to the person who has hurt us the most, the person that we open to the deepest at a core level, and then we're thrashed by that situation through our own choice, through our own soul need to grow and acknowledge our own divine presence, that person ultimately becomes our greatest teacher. Who is to say we did not have a divine contract with that person who appeared to be the most contentious of all, so that we could learn and we could go on and live a stronger, more valorous, more merciful, more wise life. How many times have women called me, written to me, expressed to me what to do going through abuse, and yet to also understand that one must still honor the divine masculine and show respect to the divine masculine as much as you would incorporate that divine masculine into your own being. You would also learn to honor and respect your own divine feminine, because as souls we are a blend of both. I'd like to end there with this reading. This is more a sharing today. I'm going to now move on and do a reading on 2022, which is going to be a phenomenal year for the world and for the United States. Thank you for staying with me in this video. I look forward to now reconnecting with all of you and bringing forth a lot of different topics, some astrological, some through life experience. Thank you, and God be with you.